Estate Investing Profits presents Profit Masters with your host, world-renowned real estate coach and investor, Cory Boatwright. Now, strap in and get ready to learn elite wealth-building investment strategies taught by 6- and 7-figure house flipping masters as they reveal their best real estate investing profit secrets to you right now.
And we're back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Cory Boatwright, founder of Real Estate Investing Profits, and your host of Profit Masters podcast series. How you doing today? I hope phenomenal, because you're getting ready to have an incredible interview, and it's with one of my business partners and a good friend of mine, Mr. Alex Pardo. Now, Alex is someone pretty special because he focuses a lot on systems. Okay, so you're going to learn how he puts together these systems and how he focuses on teams. He's someone that I personally worked with, and he's out of Miami, Florida. So if you're doing deals over there, you definitely want to pay attention. He used to work, interesting little side fact, he used to work at GE Capital as a financial analyst, and that was back in, about 2003 or so. And that just wasn't cutting the mustard for him. So he started a real estate investment business where he flips properties, and I think he's done like over 250 properties since just only a few years ago. He's just continuing to rock it. This guy is someone that knows what he's doing, and he really focuses on removing himself out of the business as much as possible, which I have a lot of respect for. Now, before we get started, what am I going to ask you? If you've been on here before, you know it. What am I going to ask you? Have you downloaded your guide yet? It's the Ultimate Real Estate Investing Guide, my free gift to you by simply texting right now the word profit, and that number is 38470, 38470, and you're going to get a link back. You can download your Ultimate Real Estate Investing Guide, and you'll get hopefully some big value from that. Okay, this is a powerful interview. I hope that you are ready to go. And here we go, Mr. Alex Pardo. All right, Alex, how you doing, man?
Doing awesome, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. It's about 103 here today, and that's actually humid heat, so it's pretty smoking hot. Where are you calling in from?
Miami, man. So I know all about the humidity.
Has it been raining out there a lot lately?
Yeah, here and there, man. The weather's not too bad in the summer, but yeah, every once in a while it will rain a lot.
I got you. All right, well, thanks for taking the time to be on here. You and I have known each other for really quite a long time. We actually do a lot of business together right now. And we've created this podcast series. It's the Real Estate Investing Profits podcast, a Profit Master series. And it's designed to basically let someone know a little bit about you and some of the things that you're doing, but also talk about your Profit Master investing strategy. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. And also get to know a little bit about you and how you're doing business and some things that you recommend. I've known you for quite a long time. I don't even remember exactly where we met. I think it was at an event, a real estate event. But let's talk about how what you're doing right now in real estate, and what's the expertise that you're really focusing on right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, again, I appreciate you having me on the series, man. I'm looking forward to adding value and providing content wherever I can. But yeah, man, as you know, I got started back in 2005, and my first deal was a short sale transaction that basically made me exactly what I was making at my corporate job in General Electric. And I've done all types of deals, from short sales to lease options, a bunch of creative strategies. But at the core of it, wholesaling has always really been my niche and my area of expertise. So the last, I'd probably say 3 years or so here in the South Florida market, I've really been focused on building a team so that I can remove myself from as much of the business as possible, with the core model really being wholesale properties here in the South Florida market. So again, I mean, and that's something that I would recommend for anybody getting started, or even if you're a seasoned pro. I think wholesaling is one of those strategies that should always kind of be at the center of things, because as you know, you can wholesale properties with not a lot of time, money, or credit, obviously, and provide some pretty handsome paydays.
True, true. What made you want to get involved with real estate in the beginning? It wasn't just short sales, right? What else?
No, I actually stumbled onto that short sale deal. I didn't know what I was doing. I just made every mistake in the book. But yeah, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but I literally have like the entire Kawasaki series behind me. And that was really my first introduction to real estate. And, you know, I always assumed that real estate was going out and getting a loan and then renting out the property. That was literally all I knew about real estate. So reading that book is really what turned me onto it.
It's amazing you say that. I also, whenever I was involved with real estate, I did the wholesaling, and whenever I was involved in short sales rather so much, that was one of the things that really made it a big difference for me, because I was in 2007, 2008 when they really started to explode. And man, I stumbled across my first short sale deal, and I thought I messed everything up, and I ended up making over $30,000 on that, and the rest is history. I mean, I completely put a massive amount of focus for years and years and years on short sales, so I can share with you on that experience.
Yeah, definitely. Gotta love this business, man, that you can literally make every mistake in the book and still come out on top.
Right, right. Did you have a breaking point? There's some, you may not, but sometimes there is. Is there a point where you were doing something before real estate and it just wasn't paying the bills, or something that was frustrating and you just said enough's enough?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, it's crystal clear. Right out of college, I took that corporate job with General Electric, and I was, you know, 21 years old, making 50 grand a year. Like, I thought I was on top of the world, right? 3 months into that job, I was averaging like 70 hours a week. I was like getting cross-eyed from looking at Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint all day. And it was a Friday night, like at 9:30 at night. It was like the end of the quarter. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, there's no possible way I could work for someone the rest of my life. Long story short, Corey, I finished out that 2-year rotational program. I went backpacking around Europe for 3.5 months. And right when I got back, I just jumped right into real estate, man. And I knew that, you know, I was going to either sink or swim. And I would rather go out there and kind of pave my way. And even if it involved me having to fail several times before I succeeded, I knew that, you know, I was going to be in control of my destiny, not me working for someone else.
Absolutely. You know, you referenced already Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm going to ask you about some books that you do, really ones that changed your life. But the one you mentioned, Rich Dad Poor Dad, when I read that book and it said 9 out of 10 times businesses fail, I got really happy, because I knew that all I had to do was start 10 businesses and one of them was going to succeed.
I heard you say that. Weren't you selling, like, back in the day, plasma TVs when, like, they first came out?
That's it. Yeah, when they were like 20,000. Actually, the highest one I sold on eBay was $50,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, when they were first. Now, you can go buy that same television at Target or Sam's for under $1,000.
It's crazy, man. That's insane.
Yeah, right.
How do you think that guy feels, by the way, that dropped $50K on a plasma, man?
You know, really, the type of client base that was buying those TVs were affluent. Yeah. So it was just a toy. It's really nothing more than a toy, and it was actually a great learning experience. But we could go off onto that. I want to stay focused on you. What was one of your big influences for investing?
Well, Kawasaki was definitely one of them.
Okay.
Again, had I not read that book, who knows what kind of business I would have gotten involved in. I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur in every sense of the word, but it wasn't until I read that really turned me on to real estate. And, you know, from there, I actually picked up a Carlton Sheets course back in like the late 90s. Didn't really do much with that, but again, it just kind of got my feet wet and got my mind open to the possibilities. And then from there, I really just started seeking out mentors. I mean, I'm sure at some point that's something we're going to talk about, but I waited like 3 years, Corey, before I actually got my first mentor. And I can't tell you how many mistakes I made, how much money I lost. So I found a few local mentors here around that third year in business. And even though I was doing well, I wanted to cut the learning curve. So a combination of some authors and some local mentors here that were really my biggest influences in real estate.
That makes sense. And that is one of the questions that we talk about, is when you recommend hiring a coach or mentor. You kind of already answered that. It sooner than later.
I mean, for me, I would advise anybody like right away, because you're just going to cut the learning curve. And not only that, you know the benefit of surrounding yourself with like-minded people and people that have already gotten to a level that you aspire to be at. So I don't think anybody that has achieved any level of success, in my opinion, has gotten there by themselves or without a coach or a mentor at some point in their life.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can save you so much time, so much
It
money.
really can.
Yeah, and it's an investment. When you're working with someone, that's an investment. You can write it off. There's a lot of benefits to it. What's one of the biggest mistakes that you've made in real estate and in your investing career so far, Alex, and how did you get through it?
The biggest mistake, Cory, that I'd say comes to mind right now is around 2006. I got started in this business late 2005, like end of 2006, beginning of 2007. Obviously, we all know what happened to the market. My partner and I at the time, we bought a $500,000 property that we were considering wholesaling, and that was our model, right? But we decided to kind of get brave and fix and flip it. You know, so we literally took out a loan for $500,000. And we ended up buying this property at the worst possible time. Like, we literally bought it like just after the market was starting to really decline.
Right.
And we ended up holding that property. The after repaired value, I want to say it was around 690, 700,000. So we thought there was a decent profit margin in there. The property maybe needed like 60, 70 grand in repairs.
Okay.
That was probably the biggest mistake we've ever made. We ended up holding that property for about 9 months. And we took about a $90,000 bath on that thing.
Wow. Okay.
So
when you say that, when you say you took a
$90,000,
yeah, when you say you took a $90,000 bath, can you explain a little bit
yeah,
more
absolutely.
about that?
So my partner actually took out the loan under his name.
Okay.
And we each put in about $45,000, $46,000 into it. The rehab wasn't 60 grand. The rehab was closer to about 100 grand.
Okay.
And we funded that rehab from our pockets.
Okay.
And he actually ended up having to short sale that property, and we didn't walk away with anything. So, I mean, fortunately, it wasn't in my name, but I mean, it was still very stressful going through that. It put a lot of strain on the partnership, and I ended up losing close to 50 grand. So, just knowing your market is probably the biggest takeaway, and sticking to what you're good at are probably the two biggest lessons that I got from that one deal. And that's actually been one of the few deals I've ever lost money on, but it was a lot of money to lose, man.
Yeah, that is. That's not a little bit of money at all. I mean, that's a good chunk of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's one of the things that you can share as one of your profit master investing strategies? One of the reasons that have you on here, I know you're rocking it out there in Florida, Miami, and I know you work in some other areas close by there. What's a strategy that's rocking out right now for you that you can share that is one of your big profitable, we call it your profit master investing strategy, Alex?
I'll tell you what, man, I'm actually going to answer this in a slightly different way. Opposed to giving you some sort of direct mail tip or strategy or some sort of magic list or something like that, because I know you interview a bunch of rock stars on here, and there's a ton of great content on your show. One of the biggest things I've learned this year, and it's not something really I've learned, but it's been confirmation, is that we have easily made close to 6 figures in additional wholesale fees by getting aggressive on our pricing strategy when we wholesale properties. And what I mean by that, Cory, is that I'll give you a perfect example. 2 weeks ago, I'm looking at my whiteboard. We closed a deal 2 weeks ago in a good area of Miami here. And I'll give you the numbers here. We're picking up the property for $170.
Okay.
The after repaired value is about $300. And I was thinking of pricing this property at about $224, $219, $224 in that range. Long story short, I had a discussion with my acquisition guy, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't a really desirable area of Miami. Let's get aggressive on the pricing strategy, particularly since we have a 30-day inspection period. And I decided to market that property at $247. I had a full price offer the next day, and I literally created an extra $23,000 just by getting aggressive on the pricing strategy, even though the numbers don't really work on your typical fix and flip. Like, you know, if the property is worth $300 and somebody's buying it for $247, it's kind of a tight deal for a fix and flip, right?
Right.
But because it was such in a desirable area, I was able to literally get an extra 23 grand out of that deal. And that's actually been our biggest deal to date. We made 71,000 on that transaction. And that's happened on like a handful of other deals. Gotcha. So in other words, if you pick up a property in a really good part of town, don't feel intimidated by really pushing the envelope in terms of the pricing. Now, granted, you want to make sure there's meat on the bone for your buyer, but don't leave too much money on the table if it's in a desirable area that's really coming up.
So how would they, if someone was so how would they do that? How would you teach someone to use the aggressive pricing strategy? What kind of steps do they need to be looking at?
Well, one of the biggest things I would say is you got to know your market, and I kind of already touched on that, but look at a map of your county, your city, and figure out where's the most investor cash buyer activity.
Okay.
And then take a look at what your sweet spot is. So for us, it's anything between like $100,000 and $300,000.
Right. And
typically, the higher you get up on that price scale, the more desirable the neighborhood is. So we tend to really target areas in which, you know, the after repair value is 250, 300, 350. And I've noticed that when I look at all of the deals I've done over the last 2-3 years, the biggest profit margins have come from the best areas in town, and they've taken the least amount of work. Versus whenever we, you know, wholesale a property in the hood, we'll walk away with 3, 4, 5 grand, and it's the biggest pain in the ass to get closed.
Right, right.
You know, so that was really validation for me this year. We've, like I said, easily squeezed out an extra 6 figures in wholesale fees just from getting a little bit more aggressive on the pricing.
And you're marketing to a little bit of higher price houses as well?
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, man, our sweet spot is after repair value between $100,000 and $300,000. Now, that's not to say that we won't target, you know, properties in the $40,000, $50,000 price point. But like I said, man, looking at the 80-20 rule, we know that the majority of our good deals are going to come from those bread and butter, you know, typical 3-2, 4-2, 4-3 single family properties.
Gotcha. That's good. That's
yeah.
good.
And as a side note, man, if you really focus on building your cash buyers list with buy and hold investors, landlords, they will always pay a little bit more of a premium, as you know, than your typical fix and flip because they don't need as big a margin. So like that transaction right there, we were actually looking for fix and flip investors because there's been a lot of that kind of activity in that area. But the guy that bought that property was a buy and hold guy.
Gotcha. Okay.
He was willing to pay that premium even though it was kind of close to the after repair value.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's a good strategy. You know, just thinking about the cash buyers and that higher percentage of where all the cash buyers are buying the properties, and then looking at that maybe top tier of those houses and marketing, maybe even looking at those hot zip codes and marketing to that zip codes base. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure, man. And you can actually use, I know a mutual friend of ours, Cody Sperber, he did a Periscope a couple weeks ago. There's a resource out there called BatchGeo.com.
BatchGeo, yeah.
BatchGeo, and that's really cool. We've been leveraging that tool lately, and that'll literally tell you like where all the activity is. So you can upload your list of like, you know, like if you purchase a list from Listability or ListSource, you can literally upload that list and it'll map out for you like where the pockets are.
Yep.
So wherever you see a lot of activity, start to focus your marketing efforts there.
I love it. Yeah, used BatchGeo before too. It's a very powerful resource. What is one piece of advice that you would recommend for running a successful business?
I don't know that I can boil it down to one, Corey, but one of the biggest things is you have to know yourself. And what I mean by that is you have to know not only what your strengths and your weaknesses are, because we all have them, but what are you passionate about? What are you really good at? You know, what if you weren't getting paid for what you do, really think about what would I be doing within this business, right? And then I would recommend focusing on your core competencies, focus on what you love and what you're good at, and then delegate and outsource the rest. Now, there's obviously there's you know, critical aspects of running any business, whether it be marketing, sales. So there's certain things that you really have to make sure you get the right people on board. But I would say focus on what you love doing, because otherwise kind of like Michael Gerber talks about, you end up like just doing it.
Right.
And before you know it, you're so in the weeds of your business. And I've been there many times. And to a certain degree, there are certain parts of the business right now that I still need to disconnect from. So it's always a challenge, and it's something I'm constantly striving to do. But yeah, man, I would probably say just know what you're good at, figure out what you love within the business, and then focus on that and get rid of the rest.
Yeah, being a technician is really, you're alluding to the E-Myth
Yeah.
from Michael Gerber, and that's a fantastic, one of my top five favorite books. And talking about being a technician, it's easy to do in your business. If you had to start all over again, Alex, how would you change things? What, maybe you have some advice for someone new starting?
First thing I would do is pay for a mentor, right? Because there's people out there that might mentor and coach you for free, but at the end of the day, when you make an investment in yourself, as you know, because we've both paid tons of money for coaches and mentors, when you make an investment in yourself, you're going to do what it takes to make it happen because you got skin in the game. So if I would have had a coach mentor, for example, I would have never lost close to 50 grand on that deal. So literally not ponying up whatever amount of money at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, cost you 50 grand.
It literally cost me 50 grand not to have a coach and a mentor. Not to mention just having the headspace to deal with all the stress and anxiety. I realized that when I kind of cut things from the business that are weighing me down, it really frees me up to be creative and do other things that I enjoy. So I know we've kind of stressed on the importance of having a coach and a mentor, but that's definitely one thing that I would recommend anybody getting started, or even if you're doing this. I'm constantly seeking out high-level thinkers. I mean, man, every once in a while I'll reach out to you and I'll shoot you a text and I'll say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And you have to kind of build that network of people that are going places and people that are at a level that you want to be at, because you don't know what you don't know. I mean, that's the bottom line.
And well, that's a good way to put that. You don't know what you don't know. And also is, I've said this several times on the show too, is that you don't see the forest from the trees. And in my business, there's things that I'm doing, and somebody will come in, one of my mentors I meet with once a month, and he'll say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And it's so obvious. It pisses me off, actually, so obvious. But I just don't see it sometimes. Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's the value, though, is that perspective.
Yeah.
And they can see, they're not so close to it. They're not emotionally close to it. They get a little bit of altitude, and they see things in you that you may not see in yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Yeah.
And another thing I would say, Cory, is don't get complacent. When you have a good month or when you start closing a fair amount of deals, even me, man, sometimes I tend to kind of kick up my feet a little bit, and I realize that when I push through those moments and I keep grinding, that's really where the fruits of your labor are going to come from. So, when you have momentum, keep it going, because at the end of the day, every business is going to have its ups and downs, and you need to be able to weather some of those storms. So constantly be marketing, constantly be networking, and focusing, like I said, on what you're good at.
That's great. What's your favorite motivational or business quote?
That's an easy one. Henry Ford, the man that says he can and the man that says he can are both right. Which one are you? For me, I have that one up on my board. I love that quote.
I love that. I'm actually, you saying that right now, I'm writing that down. I'm going to go on Amazon and have my assistant find that, and I'm going to put that somewhere. I love that. I love that quote. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me of that. I'm gonna frame that up. That's awesome. I love that.
For me, Cory, man, I'm so passionate about personal development. To me, it's like eating and taking a bath. It's something you got to do every day. And I think if people spend more time focusing on developing their mind and what's in between their ears, everything else will come. I think too many people spend time focusing on the shiny objects and the strategies of real estate or entrepreneurship, when they really need to be focusing on themselves and developing themselves into the type of person they want to become and the type of person they want to be around.
And even not just the strategies per se, but maybe the tactics, right? They get lost in all the tactics.
Yep.
And they don't have a strategy because of that, right? So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. What books do you recommend, Alex? And maybe one that's really changed your life. I know you've already said Rich Dad Poor Dad. What's some other ones?
I mean, aside from the obvious, I'm not even gonna like run through the obvious ones that everyone talks about that are very powerful and influential.
You can go ahead and do that. It's fine. Go ahead. There might be some on here that people don't know that you think is
yeah,
obvious.
I mean, Think and Grow Rich was an absolute game changer for me. That really shifted my mindset about if I set my mind to do something and I believe it can happen, it will happen. It's just a matter of believing it and taking the right action. So, E-Myth, 4-Hour Work Week was pretty cool because I had never heard about a virtual assistant prior to that book.
Right.
But the one that people might not know about, I'm actually reading Grant Cardone. I don't know if you can see this, the 10X Rule. So I'm reading this one.
Great book.
Phenomenal book. I'm like halfway through. I love it. And then Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way.
I love it. Yep.
I would definitely recommend that one.
I recommend them. I've read them, and also on Audible, you can speed up how fast you get through those books, and they have them on Audible, and you can actually on the 10X book for Grant, you can actually hear Grant speaking through his book, and it's a different.
Yeah,
I've read the book and listened to the book, and it's when Grant talks, there's something about the way that he can communicate that message. It's really powerful. So
that guy's a ninja, man. That guy really knows his stuff.
Yeah, I heard he's like close to doing $1 billion with a B, $1 billion in real estate.
Yeah, that guy, it's impressive. He owns a lot of property.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a favorite mobile app that you use every day in your business?
Dude, there's several, man. I use Hello Sign. I use a lot.
Okay.
I sign a lot of a lot of our contracts on wholesale properties. I'll sign from my phone. Let's see what else here. Periscope and obviously the podcast app just for educational purposes. HomeSnap is actually one that my acquisitions manager uses a lot. So when he'll go out driving for dollars, he'll use the app. You can take a picture of the house, and then he will take a screenshot and put that into JotNot Pro.
Okay.
And JotNot Pro will literally it'll be a PDF of all these HomeSnap screenshots. He'll shoot that over to our virtual assistant, and then she'll do all the research online, figuring out, where the homeowner lives. She'll send a postcard to the homeowner. So those are two quick apps that we leverage a lot in our business.
That's actually another little ninja profit master strategy too. So you have, you're using Hello Sign whenever you sign your documents on your phone, but you're also using HomeSnap, which you can take a picture of a property and you get the information from the property from the HomeSnap app, but then you have them take a screenshot of that and then upload it to JotNot Pro.
Exactly.
And then JotNot Pro, you can send that information over to, as a link, over to your virtual assistant.
Exactly. The key is in JotNot Pro is there's a setting where you can literally put all the screenshots in one PDF, and literally with the click of a button, you can shoot that email, or you can even Skype it over to your virtual assistant, and then it's pretty much automated. It'll go from my acquisitions guy to our virtual assistant, and then she'll handle sending out the postcard to those leads.
That's great. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's another little profit master strategy.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
great. What's your morning routine, Alex? What's that look like?
Man, I'm huge on the morning routine. I've been doing, and I kind of tweak it from time to time, but the core of my morning routine, and I actually got this from Preston 4 or 5 years ago in his, what did he call it back then?
The red pill?
Red pill.
Yeah.
And I had already been doing a similar morning routine, but in a nutshell, I'll drink water right off the bat. I usually wake up around 4:30. I'll feed my daughter. Just had a baby girl 3 months ago, so my routine's a little different now.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, I'll pound a glass of water. I'll hit the gym, high intensity workout for about 45 minutes. I'll come back here. I'll cook breakfast, and then right before I get into my day, there's about an hour of prep work that I'll do. The first thing I'll do is there's another app called Headspace.
Yep.
I will literally spend 10 minutes meditating with the Headspace app.
Right.
I can't tell you just how that puts me at ease, and it just kind of clears my mind for the day. And then for the next 45 minutes, it's a combination of reading, because if I don't get the reading in the morning, it just gets more challenging at night with my daughter and just spending time with my family and going through my goals and my affirmations. I mean, to this day, that's something I still do. So my morning routine from the time I wake up to the time I actually start working, it's probably about a good 2 to 3 hour process.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. What's the single greatest lesson that you think you've learned that's helped you get to where you are today, Alex?
Surrounding yourself with the right people. And I wish I could give you some sort of like aha type answer to that question, you know, like that shiny object that I know it's not a sexy answer, right? I know it's not what people are looking for. But, you know, just like, for example, my relationship with you and being able to pick up the phone or shoot you an email, the relationship that you have with a bunch of people, and I know you have a large network of being able to, you know, every once in a while, I have a challenge in my business or I'm struggling. I'm not sure how to overcome something. I'll always look at my phone and call or text somebody that's already been there. And I can't tell you what a valuable resource that's been, not only for my business, but my personal life. Because, like, for example, I have a life coach. And when sometimes relationships get rocky, like, I can always bounce things off him. And he'll be able to give me a different perspective on the situation that when I'm in it, I can't see it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just having that network, building the network and having a positive influence around me. So I guess my sphere of influence, you know, and the people around me, that's probably one of the biggest reasons I would say I've gotten to the point that I'm at. And I have that hunger and desire to continue to keep going. I'm never satisfied. So I would say that's probably another one.
That's phenomenal. What are you most grateful for?
Wow. Can you see that?
I can. That's great.
Yeah, man. So my family.
That's a great
man.
picture. What a great picture.
Thank
those
you,
those that cannot see it right now, once you explain what you're showing them.
Yeah. So my daughter Ariana, we just had her. My wife and I just had her 3 months ago. She turns 3 on the 7th, so on Friday. 3 months, I should say. And yeah, man, that has been. I mean, it's completely changed my world. And I've heard that from so many of our friends, right, that have kids, and they'll tell you it's like, you know, your world is about to change for the better. And you think you know, but until it happens.
You don't know, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it gives you a whole new why, right? Like why you do things. So yeah, man, my family.
That's picture is phenomenal.
Thank you, man.
What point, we already talked about the coaching, so I just want to ask you, if you had to summarize what you do right now, okay, why do you do what you do? Why do you do it? Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do this real estate business? Why do you do it, Alex?
So there's two things. Number one is my family. And aside, you know, I always put like my hierarchy, right, is God. You know, so my faith is most important to me. And then it's my family. And I almost feel I have the mindset that God put me on this earth to succeed and to be an inspiration for others.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm filled with so much potential that I still haven't reached. So that's why I'm so hungry and I'm constantly striving. And I know I have so many more things that I need to accomplish in this life. And just family, man, you know, so my family is my why. And then the other aspect of it is I really enjoy helping people. I love getting on calls like this, and there's so many more people that have achieved a much higher level of success than I have. And yet, if I can impact one person, if they've heard one thing from this podcast interview that they can take away and help their business or their life, it's been worth it for me. You know what I mean? So helping others is also a big why.
Yeah, you're a servant leader, and that's one of the, and I immediately recognized that about you on helping other people. People said great things about you. Now you're a dad, and you're such you're always talking about your kid, and you know, you're getting married and having your wife, and just almost living this life that real estate has really provided you.
Yeah,
and that's been very cool to see that. So what's the way that someone can get in touch with you, and what is a way that my audience can serve you best?
Well, thank you, man. You probably don't know it, but your audience has already served me just by following you and by listening to your series, right? Because they've taken the steps required to invest in themselves, and that's, like I said, I'm a big believer in that. If anybody's interested in doing deals in the South Florida market, if you go to propertywholesales.com, you can opt in there. And if anybody's interested more on how to build a team and how to scale a wholesaling operation, I've actually put together a handful of videos. If they go to alexpardo.com/mentoring, they can access those 5 videos there. So yeah, those are 2 places to reach me, or just find me on social media, and you know, I'd be happy to connect with anybody that's listening in.
That's great. And thank you for giving us those links. I'll put them in the show notes.
Okay.
To make sure that they are easily found there. And something that you and I can talk about too, that you mentioned on putting together a team. I think that's one thing that's really differentiates you, is that your ability to be able to do that. So we can talk about that on a side note later.
Yep.
But thank you for taking the time to be on here. I know your time's valuable. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your strategy, Alex. It's been awesome to work with you. We're doing business right now, and it's awesome to see how your life is changing with your new baby and with your wife, and just how you're out there just killing it right now. And I love what you said about being on this earth as an inspiration to help some other people, and your full potential hasn't been found yet. I really love your view of life, and I think that people need to have more inspiration like that. So thank you for being an inspiration. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
A ton. Well, make sure that you're on the next Real Estate Investing Profits Profit Masters series. We are having an incredible guest just like Alex, and they're going to be sharing their best tips and tricks and a little bit about who they are and what makes them tick and a way to serve you. So remember, be a servant, and I'll talk to you on the next podcast. Bye, Alex.
Take care, buddy.
Bye now.
You've been listening to another Real Estate Investing Profits Master Podcast series. To receive your free real estate book, Down and Dirty, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide, how to quit your job to start flipping houses in 90 days or less, head online and go to realestateinvestingprofits.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Estate Investing Profits. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.